All right, I have returned, and it ran. It completed. We actually can see, like, we have start times for records. Yeah, and so this makes sense, right? So we have our records from Postgres that predate um, and in fact, we'll have a lot of records where all the stuff was in S3 before the process was put into place to like ingest the metadata into this table. We'll have lots of records like that going back to there. Um, ah, okay. So one thing here is the start time should not be null. It should be 0. That was something where I copied this. Uh, is not none. So we actually, if this time delta is 0, right? It's 0 seconds. Then we actually want this to be a 0. Um, yeah. Whereas, yeah, because I copied this from the other thing where if it was 0, that meant that like that was invalid data because the stream wouldn't uh, have a duration of 0. Okay, so we run this again, and this should just like update all the records to give them the right start time. Um, what is this record though? Okay, so this is not one that the system added. Okay. So we go back here and refresh. Yeah, then we see zeros. All right, so for this to actually sort, we have to retrieve all of the data. Yeah. Keep going, keep going, keep going. How many records do we have in total? Okay, there we go. 1,823 apparently. Interesting. I'm not sure about the sorting logic on key there. Doesn't seem quite right. But yeah, this looks right though. So start time 0. This is when the stream started, or the 2 o'clock my time on first. It's a very long stream. Okay. Oh, maybe it's because. There we go. All right, that's a user issue. Helps if you're on page 1 and you're trying to sort like that. Okay, so yeah, this looks fine. Then we get to page. Many pages later, we start actually having data that was already in DynamoDB. There we go. So why no start time? Here. No maybe, right. So because the process of loading up the video clips in the database in my local system is a manual process, that really only happens for the things that I'm focused on getting VODs on YouTube for. This is part of why, at this point, the only VODs that are going up on YouTube are the coding stream VODs. It's like these. So that's why that's inconsistent. Now, that means a piece of functionality that I do need to eventually build is a new process for like, basically how the thing works locally is that when I'm processing a stream, I have a stream, it has a prefix, and then it looks for all the files that start with the same prefix, so with the same date, right? And then it says, oh, all of those belong to this stream. So like this doesn't have a stream ID because I didn't do this process. So a future thing to do will be to build some kind of stream ingestion where we're linking up data coming from Twitch with what's in S3 and all of that and bringing it together and updating these records. But yeah, so this seems like this worked as well, which is good. Now we need to do episodes, and at some point I will manually go in and add the stream series because I guess it's easy enough at this point. Let's do episodes. Episodes table. Now, did it get the right ID? It did. All right. So what do we want from the episodes table? So the episodes table has some columns. And I will probably want a lot of them. Let's check it out. So ID, title, description, thumbnail URL, created at, updated at, stream ID. So what is the stream the episode relates to? Or came from? I think that is something that is probably at some point going to be obsolete or not relevant anymore. Because one of the things I want to do, I have a diagram somewhere. There we go. So here's kind of the high-level data model and workflow for this application. So we have streams. It's like what you're watching right now, if you're on Twitch, and those belong, generally speaking, to series. And then a stream is made up of a set of video clips, or I'm calling them media as well. So like those are 20-minute segments of video, right? And string them all together, that was essentially the BOD, the raw BOD of the stream. And then in the application, I want to have a process where I'm selecting segments of time from within each of the clips to build out a project, and then that renders out into an episode that goes onto YouTube. And an episode might actually be like, it might be a short, it might be a long form video, whatever. And then the idea would be that potentially these selections that make up a project could come from multiple streams, right? So then an episode would actually relate to multiple streams. So this might be different in the future, but for now, I'll migrate it. Episode number, that's a good guess. I called it order index. Actually, I like episode number, but I already said that I wasn't going to be renaming columns yet. We can do that later. Let's keep things from like, yeah, I think it's better to do it this way. Render URI is kind of, is it relevant? I guess so. that represents, I think I mentioned this earlier, but that represents like the um, location of the actual video file of the rendered episode. Is published. Notify subscribers. This is, and category and tags and YouTube video ID are all things that are part of the process of automating having the episode go to YouTube or wherever it's going to go. Category, tags, YouTube video ID. So I think I want all of those things to be migrated across. I guess while I'm here, let's file name, stream ID, and start timer, the things that we're waiting for video clips. Okay, so let's build out our episodes. Copilot just fills in the blanks. There we go. Okay, so select all the things that I listed from episodes and then fetch them all and put them into the list. There we go. And it's probably correct. Copilot's pretty good at doing this sort of taking information from comments and a pattern already established and then repeating the pattern. Which in some cases is, I mean, it's good for like prototyping and like quick and dirty stuff, but if this was something that I was keeping around, if this was, you know, refactoring and testing and thorough review is necessary. Let's say. Okay, so episode. Oh no, we have that. So say for episode in episodes, do all the things. Hey, CPAS, follow.
CPA's 2008 just followed.
All right, so I think, yeah, we do need to do the ISO format for created and updated. Timestamps, and I think everything else just kind of passes through. They're just strings or numbers. URI is published as a Boolean. Let's go look here in PG admin. So, series, video clips, streams, episodes. Yeah, it's published as Boolean, so that'll come back as a Python Boolean. So is notify subscribers. So all of that should be fine. Tags is coming back as a text array. So this might all just work as is. And we do want to do. Actually, we should do this as a batch write. So we can do that. I'm not concerned that it's possible at some point. Well, it's definitely the case that there will be a point where we will be directly interacting with these tables in the application, the new version of the application. But I won't be concerned about overwriting as I like repeat the migration of that data. Like the stuff from the old system will be authoritative until the old system goes away for this. So then what we want to do is we want to actually do batch.put item. Alright, so we do episodes table. Almost copy paste almost got me. Episode table that batch writer as batch, and then for episode and episodes we do batch.put item. Then when we leave the context of this batch, then it all gets pushed up. So that should populate all our episodes. What does this warning mean? I've seen this warning for like a year and have ignored it. What does it mean? Stack Overflow says things. Okay, cool. That's not a lot of answers in those answers. What does it mean? The collation object is created. The provider-specific version of the collation is recorded in the system. The collation is used. The current version is checked against the recorded version. A warning is issued when there is a mismatch. Okay, but that's not warning. It says no actual collation version, but a version was recorded. What? There we go, Reddit. I guess it's not important then. All right, moving on. The program ran. So do we have episodes? We have episodes. So here's an episode. In this video, I dive into exploring local stack in Pulumi. This is back from back in September. All right. So now we have a way of syncing all the data from Postgres from our app into DynamoDB. Just ignore these unrelated tables. We can star table. We can add to favorites. Interesting. Let's favorite our new tables. Okay. We go back to here. What did favoriting them do? What's integrations? Oh, okay. Tables. Okay, it just adds a boolean I can sort by. Okie dokie. All right, so mission accomplished. That was this one-way sync. Run the script multiple times without duplicating data. Run the script without deleting existing video clips data in DynamoDB. Okay, got it. So then the final thing I was hoping to do today was to actually write some Rust code that is going to be able to allow us to retrieve data from DynamoDB through the API gateway that we have. So we have an API gateway somewhere in here in our Pulumi code. Here we go. So we have, here's our API gateway setup. And note, some demo code to show how API gateway to trigger the state machine. This is not a complete implementation. It's not safe for production use. Like if we didn't have any kind of authentication here, what I was doing is I was making it so that to make calls to this API, you would have to have my IP address. So that's going to be going away. And instead what we're going to do is add authentication. I think. Oh yeah, this is a whole thing that Right. Okay. Let's. Right. So in past streams, in the last few streams, we had. I don't have it running right now, but we have a new Glowing Telegram front end repo. And one of the things I did there recently was I started using AWS Cognito to provide authentication. So I have this test pool that I manually created and set up. And the thought was going to be that in AWS API Gateway, you can have it use user-based authentication through Cognito. You get an access token, and you can use that to call the API. And so control access to the API to just logged in users. So we can, what we can do is, I think what we can do is we can put a to-do Cognito user pool setup. Yeah. So for now, I'll just use this test pool, and we can add that later. So because I can just take the pool ID or whatever else we need to be able to configure our REST API in API Gateway to require authentication. How do I do that with Pulumi? Is a question. All right, Pulumi. API Gateway. We need an authorizer. I know that. So here's an example in Python where they're using. They have their REST API they're declaring, and they have invocation assume role. This allows API Gateway to assume a role. They're creating an invocation role, and they're creating another policy document that allows Lambda to assume a role. They're creating a role for a Lambda function. They're creating an authorizer. This is not the authorizer I'm looking for. How would I... How would I use Cognito? Aha. Type of authorizer. Or Cognito user pool for using an Amazon Cognito user pool. Okay. Aww. So I think somewhere up here when we create our API, we're going to create a API user authorizer. Yeah, okay, Copilot has it for me. And maybe not. So name REST API, and then I think need type here. So how do we use this authorizer? So in their example, demo is the authorizer object, and they are doing nothing with it. So all of this allows something, probably API gateway, to execute the Lambda function, but we're not using a Lambda function authorizer. So that might be all that we need to do. Aha, provider arms. I guess, yeah, obviously just saying, oh, we want to use a user pool, it's not sufficient. So we need the ARN of the user pool. This guy. Maybe that will be sufficient. So if I were to do Pulumi up, what would this do? Also, to do place with from above setup. All right, so it wants to create an authorizer. Sure. Okay, so in AWS, we go to API gateway. Here's our stream ingestion API is what I called it, because that was the main thing it's doing right now. It's a way to like invoke a step function that does some work. Look at authorizers here. Aha. Okay, so here's the test one I made. And they're basically the same, so I'll delete the test one. Yeah. Yeah, it looks for the authorization header. And then is there something we need to do in, yeah, on the here. On the method, let's say the authorization is this authorizer. We could potentially add scopes. So that is going to control, it's going to make it so that you can't use the stream endpoint without having successfully authorized. Okay, so that suggests to me that here, authorization, authorizer ID. Okay. Maybe if we go back to the Pulumi docs and look at the method, since apparently their example doesn't actually show using the authorizer on a method. So let's go look at method. They have an example with a user. Oh, hey, this would have been a good thing to look at. Yeah, I'm just hard coding mine because it's just temporary until we things up. So we have a REST API, and then we have resource, and then there's an authorizer. That's weird. But yeah, we're passing ARNs that refer to the Cognito user pool, and then the method. Aha. This also needs to be like that. Okay. So that seems fine. So if we Pulumi up now, that will hopefully update the method to use our new authorizer. Which seems to be what that does. So let's apply that. And basically that will prevent anyone from calling that endpoint without having already logged in. So already having a user account in the Cognito user pool, which only I do. Right, so both users. It's just me. So if I refresh this, and I look here, and I look at authorization, see it's already linked. API key is a separate thing. So can we test this? This is not going to test authentication. So I think what we need to do is we need do something else. What is update document? Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, that's good. Why isn't this? Oh wait, is this something where I need to deploy the API? Yeah. I didn't add the deploy stuff to the Pulumi code. Okay, invoke URL. There we go. So, if I were to what if I go back to documentation now? Is that I see that does that. One of the things that I do like about the so AWS has a GraphQL API service called AppSync, and I really like it. One of the things you can do there is that there is an interactive client that also handles authentication. So like you can integrate it into Cognito, and then it provides you with the ability to log in directly within the AWS console and test like the whole process. I guess I'll write a curl command. Let's just hit the endpoint string. There we go, unauthorized. Excellent. One thing I do want to do is I'm going to remove the conditions that relate to my IP address from this, because now we're making it so that it's an authenticated API endpoint. So I can get rid of that as well. And we'll do Pulumi up. And so this is going to update the policy to remove that condition. The source of the request has to be from my particular IP address, which might have changed anyway. So I want to remove that to kind of like remove a thing that might be interfering with our test. All right, so now still unauthorized. That's good. It's very good. Didn't I install an extension that would help me right here? see. Oh yeah, REST client send request. How is this supposed to work? Post. Aha, there we go. Excellent. Hooray. Yeah, I was previously using Thunder Client, which I was using, kind of in a personal capacity, but they're, I guess they've had a lot of issues with companies using their product and not paying for the enterprise version or whatever it is. So they've made it a real hassle to use that extension. So I uninstalled it. But it seems okay, and it's kind of a nice workflow as soon as I remember the things I have to do to make it work. Yeah. So is there a way for me to authenticate from here and get a token? Ignore that. Let's see. So that came back. I see. We would have to that's not gonna work. It's funny though. Kind of annoying. Let's file, new window. I guess I'll run the front end app so we can actually authenticate. And then we can actually use the API. Sure. Okay. I definitely can't show this on stream because it's also gonna have like Twitch app access tokens embedded inside of it and stuff. So let me go. There we go. I want is it the ID token or the access token? I think it's the access token after here. And I mean, I guess technically this access token, I mean, without the refresh token, it has limited use, and the only thing you can do with it is call this one API. So I think it's pretty safe to like put on stream. I guess I'll log out after this. All right, so does this work? Aw. Oh, wait. Aw. Maybe... This one. Put a space there, right? Okay. Aha! What's the ID token? The OAC state in sessions. All right, so we can call an API. It enforces that we are actually logged in. And can I force user logout or invalidate a session from Cognito? Sign out user. There we go. Confirm. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, me. Okay. And so then if I try to send this again, it's invalidated. Nope. Right. Let's see. Okay. How long is this token good for? wt.io. Don't send sensitive tokens to random websites. But when do you expire? 12:30, so an hour. Right. Maybe there's some caching, because I'm kind of surprised that well, how do I prevent people from using that's fine. I guess the only risk there is someone watching the stream right now could grab the token and then call this endpoint, and the only thing you can do with this endpoint right now is trigger a step function, which I've just been doing a bunch, although it's probably been failing because I haven't passed any print. There we go. Have the right input. What if I deleted my user? Yeah, what if I deleted my user? Would it still allow or disable user access? Does it still allow this request when the user is disabled? It just cares that the token is valid. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab a different user pool, and then I'm gonna go into API gateway. I think if I just change the authorizers to use a different user pool, that should invalidate things. Authorizers, this authorizer, edit. Yeah, sure. Random other one, save. And then, yeah, that's still acceptable. But if I go back to the API and I deploy it, to actually make those changes live, and then I go back to here and I send request. Okay. Maybe, yeah, it told me there as well. Okay, actually, let's, maybe I didn't wait long enough. There we go. All right. Security breach locked down. All right. And I think these are all just me. Anyway. That was awkward. I guess I'll reactivate myself. Great. Okay. Instead of minimalizing this, yeah, it's still broken. I'll switch that back later. Probably when I create the new user pool. Okay, so we got a couple minutes. I think, broadly speaking, what I need to do is I need to I need to rename things. Let's rename this. This should be like stream resource. Let's do stream API resource, sure. And then this method should be something more specific too. It should be like stream API method. Sure. And then this integration can be more specific too, because this is specifically stream ingestion API integration. And then it's funny how just like clearer names do so much. Excuse me. Rename this one. I think this because, so stream ingestion API gateway role. Because specifically, this is the role that we're providing for this integration to be able to do what it wants to do, right? So when we're talking about creating a new API endpoint that's going to retrieve stuff from DynamoDB, we need to do a few different things. So like we need to make a Lambda function. We need to give that Lambda function permission to access DynamoDB. We need to give the API gateway permissions to execute the Lambda function. We need to create an API resource representing retrieving records, I guess, generally speaking, if we want to have kind of a generic kind of CRUD API for that. And then create the actual method that hooks that resource up to the authorizer and says that, oh, you want to do a GET request. So it's just like a GET operation method. And then create an integration to invoke our Lambda function that then is then tied to the method and resource. And then define the integration response and how we're mapping that back. And so these things kind of mirror what you see if you look here, right? So here's the resource and the method. And so there's a method request, an integration request going to an integration response, and method response back to the client. So yeah, I think though that I'm going to stop here for today. I want to think a little bit about this is already a lot of stuff. I want to think about how I want to organize. I'm gonna leave a lot of this here, but we need to start thinking about like probably at least creating a construct where all of the API resources are gonna go, and referring to that here, and then we can work in that separate file. And then, what does this API look like? We likely want to have something like when we did the REST API, which seems like forever ago, we have all of these different API endpoints, and the structure of it is built around what RA data sample REST wants. Right, so we had a records, and then we have streams and video clips and episodes, topics that we never use in series. So making an API that looks like this, we could probably be cleverer, where we have like, this is just like a record type sort of structure. And then if we need to have specific endpoints that are not just CRUD, we create those endpoints one-off. So yeah, so I think what we should do is let's go find